Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. So last time we talked about cross-curricular competencies in our talk concerning designing a lesson plan. Today we talk about the idea of a sequence. You see, most of the time teachers, when they write sequence 1, sequence 2, to them it feels like kind of indication to their progress or to their progression when it comes to the curriculum. So like sequence 1 and sequence 4 I'm about to finish. But in fact, the idea of a sequence really has significance, and that significance every teacher has to really be so careful when talking about it. You see that in the English curriculum, we have sequences. These sequences are like subjects that are organized thematically. So, for example, you have sequence 1, maybe it's all about myself, and sequence 2, maybe it's all about friends. And for example, sometimes you find a sequence about traveling, sometimes a sequence about food. So the idea of sequence is centered around one theme, one subject. And here why it's so important that we need to talk about three concepts. Concept number 1, which is project-based approach. That's project-based approach. Number 2, we talk about task-based approach or task-based learning, sometimes we refer to it. And number 2, we talked about competency-based approach. Why do I need these three and why they are important? Because let's start with the project. You see, in your teaching, everything is centered around a project. When you start your sequence, often you are asked to start with the initial situation. And this initial situation reflects a problem that needs to be solved at the end of the sequence. Often when we say a problem, means that something that has to be made. So something students has to create, to make. In this case, often we talk about a project. And why I advise my fellow teachers always to do kind of project. Let's say, for example, I'm designing a sequence about family. So it would be good that by the end of the sequence that students are going to stand and present and talk about their family, maybe show pictures, talk about their ages and everything. So they are going to what? To integrate everything they learn into one project. And here comes the idea of task-based approach. You see, to do one project in one session, that's impossible because for a project, it's a really complex endeavor. So you need several tasks, and each task takes you closer to your project. And here why it's important to talk about the notion of tasks, not the idea of activity. Because a task is what? It's kind of that. It has an aim, and that aim is to build your project. Let's say, for example, I'm dealing with the past simple tense in a sequence that deals with narrating past event. So to narrate a past event, you need, for example, language structure. That's the past simple. So you will need like one session for it. Maybe you will need also to talk about narration. So you need vocabulary for that. You need pronunciation of the final ed because most of the time you are going to use ed with verbs because we talk about the past simple. So you need the right pronunciation. So all these are considered like tasks that are going to help you build your final project. That final project is where your students are going to stand maybe and narrate their a story or something that happened to them. So it's important that we think about the idea of task. Now we go to idea of competency-based approach because also our syllabus is based on that, because it's not only to know, but also to use that knowledge. For example, it's not necessary just to you to know that the past of a verb, to form a verb in the past, you just add ed in case of irregular verbs. You need to know how to use it and when to use it. And of course, it's not only just to know that the pronunciation of the final ed, but you need to use it. For example, you come to present and you use it in your presentation. And here why for example, some inspectors or anyone administrator, they tell you not to write activity 1, but to write task 1, because always I want you to think about your lesson plan is that the lesson plan for one lesson is like it's you're building one task that takes you closer to your final project. If you think like this, trust me, your lesson plan is going to really make sense, and it becomes easy because you will feel that it is one part of a whole system. It's not standalone. So this is very important. I will keep the video here short and I will provide more explanation, of course, for the next video. So thank you so much. See you next. Bye.